Hello, everyone. This is Bob Woolsey, founder and president and main teacher for Artist Acting Academy. If you've got this little beep going on in your ear, I don't know how to turn it off. I'll try to figure it out the next time, but it is kind of annoying to me. Hopefully, you do not have it. We are going to discuss today the 12 bad habits of auditioning. And we're going to start here shortly. Um, we'll wait another minute or two. I see Cindy's here, Mark's here, and David, and we've got several other people that are showing up now. So we'll just wait a few seconds. If you could type in where you're from, that would be good. Cindy's from Canada. David is from Salt Lake. Wow, Mark is from Australia. I hear there's a lot of things going on down there around Perth. Is that where you're near, or are you on the eastern coast? Okay, eastern coast. So it's near Sydney, then. Is that right? Good, good. All right. It's now a couple minutes past, so let's get going here. Um, I see about 1,000 people per year auditioning, and they are um, generally pretty good. About 10 of them are excellent and don't have any of the bad habits that we're going to talk about today. We, I traveled from, the shares included Paris, a trip to London. I had stuff going on in LA in 2 months. Um, I got stuff going on in Portland in July and August. Um, we are busy. One of the things that I'm doing more of, and you can check it out, is my online acting classes, which are very similar to this. We get on and we type back and forth rather than speak back and forth. So, anyhow, let's get going with bad habit number one. It is no movement. Most people stand still and they stare off into space, just like this young lady is doing here. Um, if they do move, it's away from the other characters in the audition. Um, and Gary's just joined us. Um, so, um, to bring everyone up to date, bad habit number one is standing still. And again, Gary, if you're getting this pop in your noise, I don't know how to turn it off. I'll try to figure it out by next week. I've never had this before. Um, and what we're talking about is standing still. Standing just by yourself, alone, delivering your monologue or delivering your piece and not really connecting, just standing there. And as some people do when I'm doing a film, is they have a tendency to stare at me, and that kind of really freaks me out. And it freaks others out that I've talked to as well. Okay. This is my favorite. It's just sitting there in a chair staring. Um, if you're doing this, you're probably not going to get the part. And I see a lot of people doing this. Out of the 1,000 people that I auditioned last year, and it's probably over 1,000, or I saw audition, um, 600 of them sat down and didn't do anything, and they used the chair. And that's another one of my pet peeves down the road here. Is that you sit down in a chair and you don't move. Um, the other movement that we discussed is what I call the downstage right. They'll be in a conversation, and all of a sudden, the actor auditioning will move downstage right and not talking directly to the person that's in the scene. Instead, they'll be delivering this monologue or their lines to downstage right, and the other person is just left there in the middle. If I'm auditioning and I tell my auditioning um, students to do this. If that person does that, follow them down there, and it freaks them out. Freaking the other person out in a scene is excellent, actually. It really helps you out and it makes it look like you know what you're doing and they don't. So follow them down, touch them on the shoulder if you want, but do move with them. Try to connect with them, and that'll be another bad habit that we're going to talk about now. No connection and staring. And that's my favorite, the deer in the headlights look. Out of those 1,000 people last year, I would say probably a good 40% or 400 of them at some time during their audition had this rather than, um, really connecting. And as my old acting coach told, and she's not old, but I mean, it was years ago. Um, Sue, Sue used to tell me staring is not caring. And you can definitely tell that this person doesn't care, that they're just sort of, as they say, lost in the headlights. Now, look at Jack Nicholson here. Yeah, he's staring. But look what's going on with his eyes. Look what's going on with his lips. Look what he's doing. It's interesting. It's about, what do you think he's going to do next? What is he going to do next? That becomes part of my acting process, which is, what is the secret that Jack is holding here? What is he trying to not tell me, the audience member, but what's he going on inside of him? It looks like when I talk more, the beep goes away. So maybe that's the key, is that it's that. But if you look at Jack here, you realize that this is, um, what your eyes should be doing. Stanislavski says that the eyes are the mirror to the soul. Freud said that they are the windows. I think that Stanislavski is more correct in that the eyes are the mirror. We only show them to other people what we want them to see, which is part of that acting technique of showing that secret. So Jack here is showing us what he wants us to see, not all of it. There's other stuff that's hidden down there, which gives us the curiosity to find out what's there. And to use that as an audition technique is excellent. Like I said before, when the person goes down stage right, go down and connect with them, touch them, get in front of them, push them. Um, Even sometimes when it calls for, and we'll talk about that in a second and when we get to conflict, slap them, push them, do something to put yourself in a situation that is different than everyone else that they're going to come in and that is going to come in and see every day. As a person that, as a director, one of the things that I want to see is you be the one. I want you to be the one. Most people think, oh, the guy's going to hate me, blah, 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 blah. No, when you walk into that door and for the audition, I want you to make my life easy. Okay? So move, connect, talk with, you know, really be involved in the scene. All right, next one is that you're too nice. There's no conflict. Um, Oscar Wilde said that drama is real life, ordinary life without the ordinary. And that's what it is. Too often I see people trying to be too nice in a scene. It's like a writer that has written so much, what I call plays instead of screenplays. He's got too much dialogue in there. The same thing here is you're playing Hamlet and you're trying to be nice to Ophelia. Okay? No, they both lost it. Be mean. And there are different ways of being mean, and we'll talk about those more here in a little bit. But the key to being in an audition is quit being too nice to your scene partner. Often your scene partner is the camera operator or the stage manager. Well, they're just up there reading, like it was a telephone book. That's not your job. Don't bring yourself down lower to them. Really get in their face. Make them scared. Make them be the one that moves because of and reacts to you. So quit being too nice. And I see too often in rehearsals, there's no conflict. I remember doing a show in which I was playing a really bad police officer, a mean guy. And I remember in dress rehearsal, I hadn't done this and I'd been waiting to dress rehearsal to do it. the woman had supposedly killed her son. And so consequently, I had pictures of the crime scene. But I went and found people with their heads severed, pictures of that, and showed them to her in the middle of the dress rehearsal. She freaked, started crying. She actually reacted, and I reacted to that. Show the conflict, show the reason why you're there. Okay. If you're doing a commercial audition, you know, the two of you aren't supposed to be happy with one another. For example, I see this commercial about karma something, creditkarma.com or whatever it is. And the two people are having a pretty nice discussion when no, it should be this. You're not going to have to pay this. I like the towns meeting one because there is some conflict there. So, with that in mind, this is a picture of guys being too nice, and they are. Don't be too nice. This is my ultimate of being too nice, and it's fakey nice. And that's one of the things that I notice as a director, as someone that's going to cast someone, is I know she's being fake nice. I know that, and I'm not going to cast her because I want to see the real you. When you're auditioning, I want to see the real you. Okay, and I want to see that in the character. Almost every actor that is really, really great does that, but they also bring that something else to them. All right, bad habit number 4: unprofessional headshot, unprofessional resume. All right, a headshot's not a headshot. It's a waist shot. It's a 3-button shot. It's a full shot. No, just a headshot, a 2-button and above. Okay, I want to see you smiling in that general one, and that in your headshot that you hand out to people. The second one is this was the funny one. I see way too often people trying to save money, so they get an 8x10. They don't get an 8x10. They get an 8x11. They get a 4x5. They get a 5x7. I was taught when I was in New York to take the papers, shake them down, then turn over and shake them down again, and then find the 8x10 section and pull everything out that was 8x11. Then go to the other side, and if it was 5x7 and it fell to the floor, that fell to the floor. My assistant picked them up. Okay, it has to be an 8x10. Should have your name on it. If you're represented, who you're represented by, if you're represented, and that's pretty much it on the front. Okay, I see too many people where their friends took um, the headshot. Okay, and you can tell it's done unprofessional. Yeah, I toss those on the floor as well. Okay, I don't think that the headshot is the money that you should, most of the money you should spend on your acting career, but I do think you need to invest in it. Um, what's his name from Nebraska? Warren Buffett says, if you're, you know, from the beginning when he was a kid, he invested in himself. Invest in good headshots, and you will never regret it. But you may not need one right now if you're just starting out. You need to work on your classes and stuff. The number 4 one is really big. There's nothing in your eyes. We go back to what Stanislavski says: "Is the eyes are the mirrors to your soul." And if there's nothing in the eyes, it's that staring is not caring thing. It's really going to look bad, and I'm going to be able to tell. Okay, I want to be able to see the person I want to work with. Okay, now let's go to the resume. Really proofread your resume, okay, and have someone else do it. Have your agent do it. Have someone that's an actor do it. Look at it and really look at it, okay. And um, too often I see errors in terms of dates, spellings, names, and don't put something on your resume that you didn't do. I worked a lot before I moved to Chicago in the Denver area, and I knew everyone. I knew everybody that was in the playwright field. I knew everyone in the acting teaching community, and directors and producers, etc. And I remember a guy coming in, and he had misspelled the guy's name, and his name was blank Springfeld, not Field, but he had spelled it Field. And I asked him about it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know Mr. Springfield." And he would have never, because people would come up to him and say that to him, and he'd go, "No, it's Springfeld." So be careful, because especially in the Los Angeles area, and I've worked a lot out there. We know everyone, especially because I teach at conferences. I'm teaching a class out in a conference here in a couple months, and then I'm going to do an acting class. I know a lot of people out there, and I'm going to ask you, if I see someone's name that I know on there, I'm going to ask you about them and what you think about them. This one bothers me too, because it goes back to the headshots not on 8 by 10. The resume is on 8 by 11. Your headshot's on 8 by 10, and you've got two separate pieces of paper. You know, nowadays with laser printers, print your resume on the back. Get get blank, headshot paper that's on blank on the back, and print it on the back. Okay. I see way too often the next one, which is you bring your own resume. You bring one single resume in. Okay. Bring in at least three. Okay. If they need four, you can at least say to them, I'm sorry, I only brought three, and then they'll figure out what to do after that. Okay. But bring three copies of it. All right. Because there's going to be, at least in most times, at least one other person that's going to want that resume. Okay. Be um, be professional in this place any more than anything else. If you mess up on your lines and things like that, be as professional as you can be with your headshot, and be as professional as you can be with your resume. Don't put things on there that aren't on there. Okay. And you don't have to put everything on there. Put the most important. My CV, my curriculum vitae, is about 10 pages long. My resume is one. Okay. I have a directing resume and I have an acting resume. And my acting resume could go on for days, but I only put in the most important ones in there. All right. Bad habit number 5, saying, little bad habits that you have in your speaking. Pay attention to those. Get with your acting coach and have them work on that, and telling you what to do and what not to do, and what you've got bad habits of doing along those lines. Okay. Um, just like I did right there. Those are pauses. When you are acting, you should not be pausing. You should be knowing where you're going, what your direction's going to be, and what you're working on. Okay. Again, you're going to probably be working with someone that's the stage manager or the film, the camera operator, etc. They're not going to be there, but you have got to give your 100% like they have, and that they are giving you 100%, etc. Bad habit number 6, and this is a pet peeve of mine. Out of those 1,000 people that I've auditioned, and over 10,000 people, 90 to 95% of them, when they're lost or not sure what they do, slap their legs or their thighs. Um, they slap them and they don't even know they're doing it. And no one other than myself has really identified this as a problem. But when I bring it to acting coaches, directors, casting directors, they go, "Oh my gosh, you know what? I hate that too. I really, really hate it." Here's the other one: slapping your thighs on the thigh or keeping your hands down there. Okay, Stanislavski says the second most important um, mannerism that you must deal with is your hands, what to do with them. And that's part of it, I think, with the slapping of the hands. I'm not part of it, I know it is. Slapping of the hands is something that you don't know what to do with those hands, so you slap them. You slap your thighs and cross your arms, you stick your hands in your pockets. But the one that really bothers me, and once I point it out to other people, is the hands, the slapping of the thighs. And it's really loud. And I'll be down writing something, and all of a sudden I hear that, and I'm like, because they're not trying to get my attention. They just don't know what else to do. Okay. Bad habit number 7, When you start out and you've given your slate in a film, wait 2 seconds, at least 2 seconds before you begin. Okay? And there's a reason for it. Um, the woman that used to play the judge on, and I can't remember her name, on My Two Dads was excellent at this. She would say a line. She would the character would the other character would say a line, Paul Reisner, and then she would wait 2 seconds and then respond. Well, what's the reasoning behind it? Editing. I need to be able to edit that. Now I can put two pieces of dialogue over top of each other and make it look like they're talking over one another, but it's hard to split them when they are actually talking over one another. So wait, give me that 2 seconds so I can give that going. I'd prefer the 3 or 4, but give me the other 2 seconds. And then at the end, okay, give me 4 seconds. Okay, stay there, frozen. And I'm going to use Gary as an example. One of my actors, his name was John Golden, and that's why I'm using you, Gary. John, we were doing a scene where we're going to fade out an angel, and he moved. He kept moving slowly but surely. Freeze. Learn how to freeze. Make that a part of your daily routine. It's learning how to freeze, counting to 4 seconds, or saying something to the effect of, "Thank you very much. I have enjoyed being here." It's about 4 seconds long, and you stay there and you are frozen for that period of time. We need to edit at the end of that. Okay, I want that 4 seconds in an audition period, so there's the break, so that I know you're not going to move, and how much I appreciate that. A lot of people don't know about that one, but I'm going to tell you, it shows how professional you are. Bad habit number 8, overdressing or time dressing, or every once in a while, underdressing. Um, if you're trying out for the Civil War part in Gone with the Wind, I don't want to see you dressing up as Scar. Okay, um, it's 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 just not appropriate. But I don't see that as much as I see this. I did. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I directed a show called Cafe Luna something. I can't remember the exact name, but anyhow, it was Picasso, someone else, and Elvis Presley. And I had one of the actors show up dressed as a fake Elvis Presley. Okay. I don't really need that. At the same audition, the guy who wrote the play was Steve Martin. One of the guys showed up as Steve Martin. Okay. When I was doing one audition, I had someone that was coming in. I was doing Grease, and they came in with the guitar and sang with the guitar. I'm like, no, I want you to be able to sing with my group of people and those and my musicians. I don't need you to come in playing the guitar. And it actually turns me off because you've gone too far then. Bad habit number 9. I have never, once I became a professional, shown up for an audition without my part being memorized. I was handed a paper one time, a script. It was 2 paragraphs. I had an hour to get to the audition, and I had it memorized by the time I got there. I always carry a tape recorder with me, and I memorized, had it uh, done. I had somebody drive me to the audition, and therefore, by the time I got there, it was memorized. Go to your audition prepared. You have it memorized. If you are in the middle of it and you forget lines, I mean, for example, I had to stop and start over in that one part because, and I told them I just got the script, and they knew I just gotten the script. And, they gave me the leniency to work with that. But have your script memorized, work out the kinks. If it's a long one, long monologue, then go with that. Um, Sometimes I've even had, and this is not a bad habit. This is stupid. I had an actor come in drunk one time. Okay, I fired an actor on a set because they were high. Um, I need your 100%. Um, the I was watching the Today Show once, and Matt Lauer, I think it was the Today Show or Good Morning America or whatever, was interviewing um, the guy that was playing what's his name on the Phantom on Broadway, and he had just finished his 2000th show. And Matt asked him, um, you've done this so many times. What do you think about when you're on stage? And he said, oh, I do what I need to do with my laundry, my grocery list, what I'm doing that afternoon. And I'm sitting there watching this thinking, if he was my actor, I'd fire him because I want your 100%. And when you're at an audition, I want your 100%. The next day, the producers did fire him, and for saying that, I'm paying you thousands of dollars weekly to go on stage and be the part. I'm not paying you $1,000 to make your grocery list out, and I'm not going to hire you if that's what you're doing in my audition. And guess what? We can tell. Bad habit number 9A, excuses. When you're late or you're memorizing stuff, for example, I didn't tell them. I'm sorry, I missed that. Can I start over? You know, we'll give you time to start over. We'll give you time, but don't tell me that your car was late. Your dog ate your script. And I actually had something like that happen one time. I work with kids from time to time. One of the kids uh, wrote took crayon and wrote all over it, but I was still able to read it, still be able, type it over again. It's not that big a deal. But don't make excuses. I don't need to hear them. I want you to be there on time and to be there ready to work and to be prepared to work. Okay. Um, and be ready to do what I ask you to do. Because I'm going to ask you, if you've done an excellent job, I'm going to ask you a different way so that we can see if I'm going to work with you or not. Bad habit number 10, not showing up early and showing up too early. Um, and 11 is the same. Not the same, but similar. Um, I got lost one time, and I plan to be where I'm going to be 30 minutes before. I don't walk into the audition until 10 minutes before. But I want to get there enough in time so that I'm there for the audition. Because of that one time, I had gotten lost and I was now 15 minutes away, but I still had enough time to get where I was going, call my agent, um, get good directions. And this was way before GPS. Now that we have GPS, there is no reason you should not be on time. Um, so I ended up still being 5 minutes early. And of course, when you go to most auditions, they're going to be running late. Although when you're at mine never run late. I always run on time. Um, Too often I see people show up too early into the audition area. And when they do, they spend more time not getting ready for the audition, but what we're going to talk about next, which is goofing off, not using your time appropriately. This is way too often what I see. People getting ready to go into the casting or into the audition, and they're talking and having a chat. When I walk into that audition at 10 minutes before, I have a complete plan. Okay? If you've auditioned enough, you will know the people around that are there. One of the things I love to tell a story when I was in New York, um, us guys would always show up and do our audition, but the women would be the same, but they would change their hair color each day because today it was calling for the brunette, tomorrow it was being called by the redhead, and the next one was being the blonde was being called. The blondes were being called, but they were just changing their hair color, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to break off someday. But we would sit around and talk. This was back in when I was in my 20s. I don't do that anymore. I go in, I check in, I see if I know anyone. If I do, I introduce myself. go and chat with them for just a second. If I don't know someone, I just kind of nod at them, and then I go over into a corner and work on the character, what I want to do, how I'm going to do it, and then a couple minutes before I start working on my voice warm-ups, things along those lines. You're not there to pick up a date, okay? Although I did meet one of my ex-wives at a casting call one time, but it was afterwards. Don't do it before, okay? One of the another funny story. I was in LA. I was making copies of my directing resume, and a guy, because this is the dumb things they do in LA, he was making out a sign, and he was going to stand at Hollywood and Sunset saying, where it turns there, and he had a sign that says "Actor for Hire." Well, I just started laughing at him and left, and then all of a sudden he comes back in like 10 minutes later, and I'm like, "Don't tell me you already got a job." And he went, "No, I got a date." You're not there to get a date. You're there to get the job. Okay. And so if he gets the date on the corner, good for him. But he didn't get the job, did he? Get the job. That is what your job as an auditioner, and actually what it is as an auditor, is to do. Get the job. There's a lot of people who disagree with me about this one, using chairs and props. Um, the one that it bothers me the most is that you use it as a crutch rather than as an instrument. Too often I see people thinking, oh, there's a chair here, I need to use it. No, you don't have to use it. And to be honest with you, I leave it there to see if you will use it as a prop, as a chair, as a crutch versus as a prop, as an instrument. Um, I've seen people stand on them, which has added to it. Sometimes it doesn't. Throw them, kick them, be the make him the other person. Kneel down to it. But sitting in it is usually not that good um, to do something. I've seen people use carrots as knives, etc., and it sort of detracts. Um, but they don't use it as a real prop. They don't think of it as a knife. They think of it as a carrot being a knife, and that's what you see, and it becomes a detraction not only to me but to them. Um, Try to avoid using props if you can. Now, if I want you to, for example, if and I don't do a lot of commercials anymore, but if I wanted to shoot a commercial about Coca-Cola and I want you to hold it, there's a certain way I want you to hold it, and a certain way it needs to be held. So using those, um, please be more careful. Now we go to not necessarily a bad habit, but something you should think about, and that's yelling. Um, when their people are supposed to yell, guess what? They do. But wouldn't it be better if you whispered? I am so angry with you right now. Rather than screaming it that I love you so much. Because they don't really coincide. And it sets yourself apart if you whisper that intent rather than yelling it. Imagine Brando, instead of yelling, Stella, him putting all of his motion, heart and soul into whispering it. Stella! Stella! Rather than yelling. Um, this is just something to think about um, in terms of working with, and especially in auditions, is there's a great scene in Arthur or King Arthur, the one with Colin and the guy that is playing the dad, um, walks over to him, whispers in his ear, and he says, "Are you challenging me? If you're challenging me, you need to have a knife in your hand." He doesn't yell it to anybody else. He just walks over, and the chills went up and down my back. That's good acting to me. Make it unique for you. Make it different. And yelling, as soon as someone yells, I put down my pencil and go, "Oh, why did they do that?" This isn't a bad habit, but this is a habit you should get into. Once you're done with the audition, go outside and take 10 minutes and accurately, truthfully assess your audition. Okay? What did you do good? That's the very first thing I want you to think about when you're assessing your audition. What did I do good? Did you do a good slate? Did you wait the 2 seconds? Did you wait the 4 seconds at the end? Did you really connect? Did you move? Did you move on stage? The only time I don't want you to move is when they say, I want you to hit that mark and stay there. One of the things that you should ask them is, if I get off can I get off my mark? And if I can, how far do you want me to move? Because the camera operator is going to want to follow you. Make sure that he or she is able to do that. Okay. It's your job to do that. So, but anyhow, going back to the assess your audition, then say, what did I do wrong? Okay. And how could I have done it better? Take 10 minutes, take 15. Doesn't take a lot of time. Don't rush to your next situation because you'll forget. Okay. Did you leave the audition, you know, cordially with the person at the front? Every person in there is important. Um, my assistant director, never was in some of my auditions because I wanted him or her to be the person that you first met. And then I would ask them, what do you think of so and so? They treated me like dirt. Well, if you're treating them like dirt, then you're going to treat everyone else like dirt, except for me. You're lying to me. Um, One of the things that I teach in my classes, one of the very first things is who's the most important person in the theater. And I get the answers of the director, the producer, the executive producer, the camera operator, the stage manager, the lead, the least important person in the cast, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And people are shocked because, and I agree with this, the most important person in the theater, and even in going to see a movie, is the ticket taker or the ticket seller, because they're the first person you are going to see. They're going to set you in the right mood. I thought this was nuts. I read this from Stanislavski, and 2 weeks later I was in New York watching um, Rumors, and I got in an argument with the ticket taker. It took me the entire first act to settle down. Okay. The second play I saw was Nonsense, and they asked me if I was Catholic. I said, I'm not practicing, and they gave me a rosary, set me down front, told me to say 10 Hail Marys, and I was totally into the show. The next show I saw, excuse me, was Heidi Chronicles, and the person was kind of blasé. And because they were blasé, the show was blasé. And afterwards, I realized the show was really good, except for they had set me in that. So the same thing here. When you walk into that audition, that person that you greet is going to A, set you in the mood, and B, may have a portion in the discussion, part of the discussion, and if you're going to be hired or not. So you treat everyone with respect, and that means everyone. Golden rule when you're acting and auditioning: have fun. You're only going to get 1 out of every 20 auditions that you go and audition for. That's 1 out of 5. I mean, that's 5%. Excuse me. So have fun when you're doing it. Okay. Um, Touch people, freak them out, move. Um, Shirtlift says that if you ever get into a situation where you know the audition is bad, go up to your scene partner, grab them, kiss them, male or female, then push them back, slap them, and say, "Don't you ever do that again," and then walk off. I got one part doing that, and then actually I got 2 parts out of it. I got the part for the show out of that. They said, "Why'd you do that?" And I said, "I knew it was going bad, and this is what Shirley said to do," and I did it. And the other one was they didn't give me the part um, because I wasn't a 72-year-old man. Um, I wanted the part because it was good, but I was 35 at the time. but it got me another part. So touch people, move people, be in conflict, and things along those lines. Okay, do all of those things, and I realize now I should have put all 12 of these bad habits on a list and made that the last um, um, placard, but I didn't. So um, with that, all I have to say is have fun and enjoy, because if you have fun, I know it and I see it. If you don't fit the part, because that's probably why I'm not hiring you, I'm going to think about you in the future. And I do. As a director, I do think of those people. And I tell them, I'm sorry I can't use you in this part. I got an audition for um, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And afterwards, Harrison Ford came up to me and told me what a wonderful job I had done. And this is evidence of what happens during an audition. And it's not about you so much as it is about what we're looking for. He says, you did a great job, but we're not going to be able to use you. And I said, what? You just told me I did a great job. Harrison Ford. And he said, you're too tall. Harrison's 5'9". I was, the reason I got called in is the guy that um, they were working with got hurt, and he stood about 5'5". So they had built some stuff to make him look a little taller than Harrison. So he looked like he was 5'10", 5'11". While me being 6'1" to 6'2", depending on what shoes I wore, um, with the stuff they'd already built, I looked like I was 6'7", 6'8" over him, and they didn't want that. So it's not about you sometimes; it's about the situation that they're in, and those kinds of things. With that, we're done a little early, so if you want, you can type your messages, and I'll answer a few questions, um, and then we'll let you go. Thanks for coming again. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate it from all of you. Glad to see a couple of you that are still here, um, that kind of thing. And that have come back before. And we're going to do this every week, once a week. Give me suggestions, email me, or tweet me what you think that you'd like to work on, and we'll work them in. Um, all right, no questions so far. Um, David is typing one, it says, though. Some people say that this question is from David, and David is in Australia. David asks, some people suggest that you not shake the person's hand, um, the director or whoever's doing the audition. What should you do? I always offer, and I've never had the director not tell me that. And I don't know if you know. Here's the thing that you think about. Once you've become a little more savvy, a little more experienced, you're not only auditioning. They're not only audition you. You're auditioning them. Do you want to work with them? How's this person going to be around the set? I left the business for about 4 or 5 years when I joined the military. When I came back, I wanted to know what those directors were going to do for me, and so I'd ask them. They'd ask a bunch of questions at the end of the audition, and they'd say, "Do you have any?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I do. What am I going to get out of this? What am I going to learn from you? How are we going to work together?" Kind of things. So ask those questions as well. But be as cordial as you possibly can be. Um, Val Kilmer doesn't get a lot of work anymore, and the reason is he's a pain in the butt to work with. Tom Arnold, on the other hand, couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. And it's kind of interesting. A woman that I dated was his cousin, so I met him a couple times. And he can't. But he's just a great guy to be around. And he'll get the job done. And he'll get it done professionally. It's just not he's not gonna bring a lot of character to it. But he's nice to be around. A story a friend of mine told me was that he was working with him on, I think it was McHale's Navy or something like that. And he something broke down, and he did a stand up for everybody while he was doing it. It's like Robin Williams kind of thing. So yeah, be as cordial and be as respectful as you can be. All right, Cindy. I actually, here's her question. Um, she has been told to walk off the set at the end of her audition if it's one of those kinds of things. I actually did one time, and I realized that I had gotten so caught up in the moment that I just kept going. They ran me down and gave me the part in the commercial. But no, if you go off set, come back on. Come back on and say and thank you, etc. But um, you want to end the meeting again cordially and with respect. One of the things Mike asked, Mike is from Chicago. Um, Mike asked, how do you catch those bad habits, such as slapping your hands on your thighs? Look for them. Be aware of them. Um, Notice you don't do them in real life. That's the thing I want to see on stage is as truthful as you can be on stage in the situation that I've set up for you. Be that. I don't see people walking around slapping their thighs or their arms. I do see them crossing their arms from time to time, but usually not when they're standing up. And if they are, they better have a reason to do it. Any more questions? Well, it looks like we're a few minutes early. I appreciate you again coming, and I'm going to post this on YouTube on our channel probably early tomorrow morning if you want to look at it again. And we'll have a link to it on the website. Again, thank you so much, and have a great day. 60 degrees here in Chicago, and we're tired of the cold, so it's nice. Thanks again. Bye.